So I saw Taskmaster mention VSC greater than Lightning Network. Am I reading this correctly? Do you want to and and the reason why I picked that out is because I think a lot of people don't know about Lightning. Um, so do you want to give like a quick, like if you had to compare what VSC is doing to what Lightning Network is on Bitcoin, what would be your kind of quick rundown for people that might not know?
Mm, interesting. So it's kind of a hard comparison, but essentially Lightning, um, it's so when you have like trying to think here of like what's a good approximation. Um, here's how I like to think of it. VSC is one layer. You can send, receive Bitcoin. It's fast, yes, works on Hive. It's one system. Everyone's on the same playing field. Lightning, because of the way it works, without going too much into exactly how it works, is there's several separate kind of layers to it. Each individual channel that you have with another person, they're kind of these isolated payment channels that you have. And there is ways that you can pay through those channels. So if I'm connected with Binance, I can pay someone who's a Binance user pretty easily. There's ways you can do that, but it's much more constrained and kind of limited on what you can do on Lightning. And it's very dependent on liquidity and all of these kind of factors that make it very hard to use. And the only way that you can make Lightning actually work well is by knowing how it works and then managing your node and managing your channels. And to most people, they're not going to do that. Even the exchanges have problems doing that. They struggle to manage that properly. And so the result is that the network oftentimes just doesn't work. You can't pay people. You can't pay people offline. There's all these kind of limitations that just you cannot solve. You simply cannot solve. And so with VSC, you can do pretty much all the same things that Lightning provides, fast, fee-less transactions, without those downsides. And again, the Lightning is great for what it does. It certainly has use cases there that are always going to be better than VSC. But as an overall, from the user perspective, it's much simpler to use and much easier to use, and it accomplishes the same kind of goals.
And I want to dig in now a little bit on the tokenization side of things, because I see a lot of people are asking about that, and obviously it's a very local curiosity around these parts when it comes to tokenization on Hive. So like you mentioned, Hive Engine allows for very simplistic, and again, you kind of got into this too, but using the term smart contracts would be a pretty what would be it'd be like describing a firecracker with calling it a WMD. Like to call it a smart contract is definitely a mislabeling in my opinion.
Yeah.
That being said, they do allow you to do pretty incredible things. So not knocking on Hive Engine in any way. It's from what was there prior to Hive Engine to what is there after Hive Engine. It's pretty incredible how this blockchain has changed. That being said, that being said, the door you're knocking on is something where you can actually have customizable tokens, customizable smart contracts, where people can come in and really deploy anything that their imagination is the only limit of what can be deployed. So what will tokenization look like on VSC, and what is your kind of timeline for that? And you can give timelines however you want. I know some people like to give actual timelines, and others just like to say soon. So however you want to tackle that.
Well, you can start programming contracts right now. So if you want to build your token contract, the door is open. We may not guarantee everything's working the way it should, but you can definitely start writing your token contract and building what you want or what you envision to deploy. So there's no real issue there on writing the contracts. Just issues, of course, network stability and other problems that we've been facing for the last few months. But overall, we've been getting through a lot of those problems and making substantial improvements to the software. So that shouldn't be something that we'll have to deal with in the future. But in the next couple of like before Hive Fest, we'll definitely be writing token contracts, almost guaranteed. So we'll have an idea of what that ultimately looks like and what we're going to deploy on the network, what the standard for tokens will be like. So we'll definitely have an idea of that, and then we'll be doing other things like actually making a standard for it and making that something where people can publicly look and see, okay, here's how you write a token contract. Here's how I can add my custom functionality, all of that.
Nice. Yeah. And my understanding too is that you're building a marketplace around tokens as well, right?
Could you tell me more on what you mean by that?
Yeah, I will. Let's just call it, because you're already doing the wrap Bitcoin pool. So I would assume, and I've kind of heard loose announcements here and there, that there's going to be pools and, various financial, sides of things. So I guess when I say marketplace, I mean, exchange interface / backend.
I see. Yeah, yeah. I mean, any token that you have on VSC, you can also create a pool with it. Like once you've written the contracts and make that streamlined, it'll be very easy to deploy a token and then make a liquidity pool for that. So like if you want to have a liquidity pool with Hive or HBD, you can set that up, and then that could also in turn be paired with like Bitcoin, for example. So you could go directly from like Leo token to Hive, and then right to Bitcoin, and then in that same operation you can unwrap it. So immediate trade right through to Bitcoin, and then that Bitcoin goes somewhere to your wallet on the Bitcoin mainnet, like an exchange or something, or whatever it is that you want to do. So it makes it a lot easier and a lot more universal overall for doing things like liquidity pools and all of that more advanced DeFi stuff that people are familiar with on like EVM and Solana, all of that.
Yeah, is there going to be any standardized base pairs? You kind of mentioned you could pair it with Hive or HBD, but with the Bitcoin pool, I'm assuming you're going to do a Bitcoin Hive pool, and then let's say that any other tokens, is there going to be a standardized? It has to be paired with Hive, or it has to be paired with an asset in particular, or they can be paired with any other asset on the protocol.
It can be paired with any asset. We recommend though doing Hive and HBD, both of those, as Bitcoin is going to be paired with that. So most of the interest is going to be kind of centered around Hive as the main kind of trading route. Um,
Cool. Yeah, and I'm assuming that, and this is kind of getting into the developer economy stuff, but if there's various pools out there and they're kind of all connected to Hive or a similar base asset, then people can start building aggregators and all sorts of other technology on top of what you're doing. So,
yeah, absolutely.
it's really just about getting those base rails into place.